Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
If it's Wednesday, it must be Facebook Live.
Live from Redwood City.
That's right, beadshop.com.
California.
Yes, it's Kate Richburg.
And Emily.
And Emily Miller. And here we are. It's the Wednesday before Christmas.
Oh my God. Are you done with all your Christmas stuff?
Just about. I am.
I'm going to be up late night tonight, knitting, I think.
You know, knitting as fast as you can. Yep, Hanukkah, it's the last...
last night
was the last night of Hanukkah. Mm-hmm. So we've got, and however you, solstice is coming.
Solstice is tomorrow.
Right, tomorrow, the longest night of the year, at least in our hemisphere, right?
Oh, so, okay, yeah,
right.
so it's opposite.
Our winter, right.
Right.
So it would be our winter solstice here, because I know some of you in Australia watch us.
Right.
I'm looking at you, Beth, and Lindy. I'm looking at you.
Oh, Lindy.
So, hey,
what's up?
I'm
nice
back.
to have you back.
Hey, it's great to be back.
Big sigh of relief to have you back.
I'm on the mend. I was a little under the weather, but now I'm fine.
Good. And you got a little rest, which is always good.
Got a little rest, which is good. Yes. So nothing like getting sick for some forced rest, right? So that's what was going on. But it's great to see everybody. How we doing, Brandon, out there?
We got hellos from all over, including Kim from Walt Disney World.
Oh, that's right, Kim. You were planning your lunch break. That's right. I got this message on our Facebook group, our Bead Table Bead Shop community group, and Kim said she's going to be watching today. They're in Disney World, so they planned their lunch.
Oh my gosh.
So you could join. That's great. I hope you guys
Kim.
are having the best time. I have never been to Disney World.
Me either.
And I've always wanted to go.
I've only been to Disneyland.
Yes.
Like
Brandon has
twice.
gone, but yes.
Wanted to be a princess.
And so just to let you guys know, if you're new to watching us, welcome. It's great to have you. If you're watching us on the replay, thank you, because I know some of you can't join us live. You can always, if you're really here just to get to the instruction, you're like, yeah, hey, you guys, great to see you. Now teach me something. Move it along. You can always, there's a couple of ways. What you can do is slide that little marker, that minute marker at the bottom of the video, slide it forward about 15 minutes, and we get all the chitty chat and stuff out of the way about then. What you can also do, if you're watching this on the replay, there are 3 ways you can watch us. You can watch us right here on the Facebook Live page. I don't want to knock over our beautiful necklace. Knock it over. Right here on our Facebook Live page. You can watch us also on our YouTube channel, beadshop.com. You can also go to our website, beadshop.com, to our Facebook Live page, and every episode is listed there in order, date order. You just click on it and the video is embedded. Not only is the video there, but all of the materials and stuff are there that you're going to need, as well as the Monday, so this is Wednesday, we're live on Wednesday, the following Monday, our episode notes get posted.
And they're better and better every time.
Every time. It's like, you know how like when you were in high school and like we're doing today the Gatsby necklace. It's like the night before you had the test on the Great Gatsby, you got your Cliff Notes out and you're all, I'm just going to read the Cliff Notes. I mean, maybe that was just me, but I'm like, got to read those Cliff Notes. The episode notes are kind of the Cliff Notes
they really are.
of our broadcasts.
You know, I used to read books. I still read books multiple times.
I did read the book.
Sometimes it's really nice when you want to move on to a certain section where you weren't taking notes too.
Right.
The episode notes to me is like your good friend who took the notes for you in Spanish while you were not there for some reason or another.
Yeah, that's right. For me, it was French class. I was all, French class right after lunch. Sometimes I just didn't make it back.
Anatomy, physiology.
Oh.
6th period after lunch.
You were much fancier than me. I think 6th period I was the TA for the drama department.
Oh, I took 7 years of science in high school.
See what happens? See
what happens when you go to a small school and you had to participate in a lot of things.
Well, you know. All right. Well, it's great to see everybody. Janice just popped on. She's beating a project. So Drea is going to be here to do some moderating. But Janice, we'll be talking to you a little later this afternoon because we're continuing to do some planning for 2018. It's very exciting. It's great to see everybody. And there's Carrie. Carrie, we do see you. You're not a pain. You're on. There you are. Yes, Albuquerque. That's awesome. Our Gita's here. Everyone's here. It's great to see everybody.
We do have the usual what you're wearing
suspects.
Tell us about your brooch. And
Tell us
your brooch.
what we're wearing. What are you wearing? It's like we're on the red carpet.
Who are you wearing?
Who are you wearing? Thank you, Emily Mott. I don't know, it's part of my vintage brooch collection. You're wearing your little...
I am wearing a really sweet one that my brother got me quite a few years ago, but I look at it often, and I don't wear them much because I tend to wear bags and straps and things.
Yeah, and they get
kind of tangled up. And so today I thought I knew you'd be wearing one. So.
Well, because it's the
holidays.
It's
the seasonal.
Yeah,
so I thought I would wear it, and because kind of one I like a lot. It's lightweight, and it's the
nice
right
one.
nice colors for the season.
This one I remember. My little grand Rose. She, as I've said before, she loved to go, as we call it, garage sailing, and so she picked this one up. I don't know.
You know what we used to call it?
What?
We used to go to the rummage sales. We called it the rums.
Oh, you have the rums.
The rums. Let's go to the rums.
That's so awesome. But she, I think, picked this up there, and she had this Christmas coat that she would wear, and it was red, kind of like almost a corduroy, a wide wale corduroy, and it had this white fox. I think it must have been fox. I don't know. It was a collar that she had made. Right, fashioned for the red coat, and she would wear this on there. So yeah, it was great. And someone asked, I think it was, I can't say. Oh, Lynn asked, did we coordinate our outfits?
We didn't. However, Lynn,
however, we do share a brain, Lynn. And many of us do here at beadshop.com.
Get out of my head, Kate Richford.
So sometimes when we show up to work, we look at each other and we go, oh, great, you got the memo. So we did. We have
I know
the
I can always wear black
stripes.
and white stripes and fit in. I like black and white stripes.
I know I like a stripe.
They're not black, they're not white. It's kind of the
they're
mix.
A stripe.
They're a stripe. And it's not gray, which,
That's right.
you know.
That's right. That's right. And Gita wanted to know, are you wearing Shadow Love for today's occasion?
Shadow
Love. Was that a project?
I don't know. Gita? Shadow Love? My necklace?
Your necklace?
Not Shadow Love, though. But this
know.
was sort of the inspiration for one of our other pieces.
And we're going to talk about that one too. Yes.
But I did wear it because it kind of goes with everything.
Yeah. My my pearls that I'm wearing, this is, and I've showed this to you guys before, this is from pearl knotting, my pearl knotting.
It's an epic piece.
It is, and I don't know where the clasp is on it. If you can find it, it's kind of like a magic trick, you guys. I think you'll like seeing this. So I made, along with Lake Frog. Yes, Shadow Love. This one. Yes. So it is, Gita, you're so clever. Yes, and we're going to talk about that soon. So this is like, you know, that scarf trick when the magician pulls the scarves out of his hat forever and ever, and you're like, there can't possibly be more. This is 10 feet
of pearls.
It's taller than me, right? Because
considerably.
I'm only 5'2".
Twice your height.
Twice my height. So this was a piece that I made quite a few years ago, and it was really fun to knot. It's an epic, it's my kind of magnum opus of pearl knotting. So today, and I wanted to wear it because today this project, Emily, that you strung up for the day, is a great layering piece. And so you kind of can get that layered effect without having to knot 10 feet of pearls.
And I love the layered look, but I really find that for me, most of the time, functionally, it doesn't work quite as well.
Right.
It kind of tends to get kind of wrapped in itself, and it gets a little tangled up. And I like multiple strand necklaces a lot, and it's always something I'm thinking about, whether it's one strand that I loop around twice, which to me is a great layer, but also working with cones, working with multiple strand clasps, and then kind of using my inspirations. And this project we kind of brainstormed on a bit, actually, and Janice actually said a few things to me that
resonated,
spurred me on. It they made me think a little bit, and so I don't ever get my inspiration from just one place or one thing, and sometimes I am quick enough to have it shoot right out of my brain and into my hands and onto the bench, but not always. And I do my best to kind of always be thinking about new things. So this was a great problem solver, and I think it for me it crosses a few of those things. It's the multiple strand, and then the ease of wearing, and the ease of assembly too. This one was pretty fast. You know, I was thinking too that we were kind of approaching the holidays, and I know we all do a lot of
we wanted kind of a quick project,
work for others, and we should all make something for ourselves. And you know, Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve has always been my husband and I's one holiday that we don't do with anybody else.
Right.
We only do with ourselves.
Right, yeah.
And so
your time.
It's our time. Yeah. The other ones are family related, and and
this
is it's beautiful.
I'm back.
It's stunning. Yeah.
That's right. Give everybody. I don't know what that look was.
I know what it looked. I know what it was.
That's my blue steel. Hello, everyone.
Your polka dot steel?
My polka dot steel. It's true. There we go. I'm checking my reflection in the thing to make sure that my pearls are right. But this was, I think, you know, holiday jewelry, like you were saying, Em. We make so many things for other people. You know, I always, you know, try and make something for my mom, though this year it's
going to be late.
Happened so much, it was a little late. But making something for yourself over the holidays, especially like for New Year's, you know, rather than the hustle and bustle of Christmas. Christmas is done, and then you can sit and go, you know what? I'm gathering my forces around me and making something for me. So what I loved about this piece was that it was monochromatic without being dull.
And I rarely find monochromatic dull.
Yeah.
I like
I agree with that.
The intricacies of different patterns and different textures, and mixing things that, like this, we particularly decided to go with kind of a warm white, so a cream instead of
a stark
dead
white.
Which I think is a little warmer, and I think it brought these little rondelles to life. And the contrast then is these little sparkly crystals, which I really love. I mean,
I love them
what's
too.
not to love about a nice
And so you weren't here last week. When I came back, I was all, oh my God, I love it. So
Did you go like that?
I put it on my head.
Oh, of course you did.
I'm going to put
it
on my head.
Richburg.
Because why not?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because
and I did it for you just like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because look, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe you have a fancy dress party to go to.
I just pin it right here, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, you guys. I'm just so glad to be back that you're getting the full Kate Richburg today.
Actually.
I'm just so glad to see you. Anyway. Oh, yeah, I can see it now on my head. Good God. Good God, Richburg. Some decorum, please.
Grey Gardens all over the place.
Yes, so Grey Gardens. Anyway. But I really love how this came out, and I love that you did the 2 short and 1 long. And so for me, when I do that short and long, I usually make a necklace like this. I make it super long, and then I wrap and I wrap and I wrap. Something like this, I think, gives you a little more of a measured, measured length.
And it's one thing. It's not a necklace that will do 6 things. It does one thing, but it all does all of it at once.
Unless you wear it on your head.
Well, it does do 2 things. You can wear it around your neck, you can wear it around your head.
That's right. Because I'm like Karen. You know our Karen. Karen does the same thing. Whenever we get something new, or if we get new leather strap, or if we get new strands, Karen will do the same thing. She'll go, give me that, and she'll put it on her head, too. So I think that's something that we both share. So,
well, you're an accessorizer. You know, you like an accessory.
I am.
You know,
I do.
and that it's sort of interesting.
I do.
You know, we get along in so many ways, and there are actually no ways that we don't get along.
It's really true.
We bring different things kind of to the party. I know when I first started making jewelry, I got really invested in kind of learning how to do everything.
Right.
I wanted to know how to do that and that and that and that and that, and I was collecting techniques under my belt. And what I've noticed now is that over the years, the 20 or so years of doing this, I'm really beginning to kind of make things that are more like what I started out making. And so it's maybe finding my voice, but also kind of staying true to what I really like.
Right, kind of circling back around.
Yeah.
Well, I feel the same way, especially with like stringing. You know, that's how I started. I mean, I do a lot of metalworking, I do a lot of soldering, I do a lot of that. But I know, Janice, you're still watching, and stringing really is. I mean, that's where we all started.
There's something very meditative about putting beads on a string. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's stringing.
It's stringing beads. And I love this. I didn't mean to interrupt, but Trish Perry said, "Miss Fisher, is that you?" And yes, I am Franny Fisher. I am. If you don't, you can Google her. Yes, I am. Anyway, but I'm sorry, Em. I didn't mean to. I was so elated by that.
I loved doing the stringing for this and the designing for this because it was something that was really my style. It's totally something that I would do, and it's. While it's accessories, I guess I don't go in the same depth that you sort of go into. I tend to have my accessories, I feel like my things all look very similar in certain ways. And not that each one is the same, but there's definitely a theme. And maybe I'm a little bit more simplistic. I use sort of less materials. I've learned over the years to buy better materials.
Yeah.
That took a long time.
Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
And explore them as much as I can each time I have my hands on something new.
Well, I think this is a great exploration of this kind of this monochromatic palette. I love it. And I wanted to share a few other pieces with you guys before we jumped in to play around with that piece. And Gita, with her eagle eye, she was super clever with that and recognized it. This was back from when Janice and I did our Soft Flex 101 episode, okay? And so I wanted to bring this piece in, and I have the one that Janice did as well. There's a lot of features in this piece that are similar to the one that we're going to do today, but this is a long, I'll undo it, it's a long strand, and I know what your question is. Kate, how long is that strand? Well, I'll tell you.
How long is it?
It is about 52 inches, I guess, about, we say door to door, 52 inches from clasp end to clasp end. So something like this is a great way to get that multi-strand look and to do a great layering piece. So you could do this kind of style and technique in one long thing. You know, you totally could.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I always think about when I'm making jewelry for me, because I mostly make jewelry for me, selfish that I am,
well,
I like things to be really wearable and comfortable, and it really frustrates me if I have to futz with my jewelry during the day, you know, if I have to reorganize it or whatever. Buttons and loops to me are like the best thing ever. And we're lucky to have all these great check buttons, but doing that loop out of seed beads just makes this really wearable.
And really, you're not fumbling around for a clasp.
Right, and this really rotates around a whole bunch. You know, everything kind of stays straight without getting tangled up. I did pick out some other clasps, and I'll show you later.
Yeah, we'll show those so you guys can see it. Because what we did on this one, this piece, this one has a toggle here, and you could use a toggle. And I love a toggle when I make wrapped pieces like this. A lot of times with the toggle clasp, I'll hold it here so you guys can see that it's that loop. I'll do a little wire wrapped embellishment off of this. So if I'm wrapping it like the necklace I have on,
and that ends up in the front,
if it ends up in the front, it's fine.
Right.
So there's no real rhyme or reason to it. The other thing about this, you can see we put the butterflies in this piece, and I have butterflies facing both ways. So when you wrap it around, the butterflies are flying either up towards the sky or down towards the ground, but it doesn't really matter, right? So this was such a fun
Well,
piece.
and you have short hair, so when people look at the back of your head and neck,
right, you want it to be,
that looks really pretty.
yeah,
back there.
you want it to be as nice in the front as it is in the back. Now this is Janice's, this one I think is called Lake Frog, I think, this guy. This was the one that Janice did also for that Soft Flex 101 when we kind of did dueling pieces.
Oh no.
It was really, and it's a great episode. If you guys haven't watched Soft Flex 101, I urge you to go back and check it out. It really gives you a lot of great info. I'm a little twisted here, so let me untwist. So you guys, let me take it off and untwist this right so I'm not fumbling with it. There it goes. But the closure that Janice has here is kind of similar, Em, to what you did, what we did in this Gatsby piece, right?
It is.
So I'm gonna just put this on so you guys can see it here.
And you know, finding cones always to fit the piece is sometimes difficult. Sometimes you don't really have them.
No, you don't.
That was another.
There
I
we
think
go.
another
that
kind
looks
of
nice.
thing I noticed about my own work is that I tend to work kind of on the simple side. So my endless strands of beads, no clasp needed. My crochet piece over the head, no clasp needed.
Right.
And as much as I enjoy picking out clasps and purchasing them, I actually hate using them.
Really?
I hate using, well, this goes back to some childhood thing.
All right.
I don't like to use up the best ones first.
Right. It's true. It's right. I can relate to that. Yep.
So
save it for good.
Save it for good. I would always eat the bad jelly beans first, and then get to the good ones at the end.
It's true. And then I'm too tired, and then I give my good jelly beans to my friends. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, this one, and then I wanted to show one more. This was a piece that we did on the blog, and then we'll look. Sylvia wanted to show this necklace, and we'll end up with this one before we jump into the instruction of the other one. This was a Free Tip Friday that I did. I had it untangled. I put it aside so it was untangled, and now of course it's tangled. I did this with the Harvest
mix.
The Harvest mix back in September. So it's a Free Tip Friday. It's on Free Tip Friday, and the instructions are also on our blog.
And you know, I'm really a big fan of mixes.
There we go.
I really like things mixed.
I do too. I love a mix, and I think it's already...
Well, there's also the pleasure of sorting that mix.
Yeah, it really is kind of pleasurable to do that, isn't it? So this one has a lot of chain and a lot of, like you can see the little intentional drops. I'll pull this up a little bit so you guys can see that. And I think mixing the chain and stuff with this is another great way to add texture. Again, this is a super long one.
Yep.
And we could, pardon me, we could just do this as a 3-wrap. Again, too, like this. And again, here's the toggle right there. And you can find this. It's on.
I'd go like this.
If you, two long, two short, and one long. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you can find the directions of these. For these, if you go to our blog, the bead table, and if you just search bead table blog in Google, it'll come up. Or you can also find it from our website, beadshop.com. And you put Free Tip Friday in the search box. All the Free Tip Fridays are tagged, and they'll all come up that way. But yeah, I like this guy. I think it's fun. Let's go ahead and look at your pearl necklace before we jump in.
So over many years of collecting, and you guys have seen my jar of seed bead samples, I actually have a jar of pearls as well.
She does. It's an epic jar of pearls.
And what it is
just freshwater pearl mix.
Just freshwater pearl mix of beads that for some reason I had a few extras of, or I bought and they didn't quite work out, and I have thrown some sort of fancy pants ones in there. And then I separated it with a seed bead, little grouping in between. And this is the same one that we used for a project patterning the stones.
Yeah.
The same techniques.
Right, so this is kind of patterning the stones, but with pearls.
Yeah. And so pearls are, to me, when we're looking at color designing and we're talking about choosing colors or choosing patterns, I like to have something that is the unifier in that group, the thing that brings everybody together. And in this case, it's that these are all pearls.
Right.
So it doesn't matter that they're different colors or that they're even different textures or different sizes or shapes.
But the material is the...
Yeah, that they're all that pearlescent, luminous feel to them kind of gives that unifier. And then also spacing them out so that each one has a little bit of, gets a little bit of attention and is noticeable. Also good fun.
And what did you string this on him?
Soft flex.
Soft flex, yeah.
0.014.
You just hid the crimp somewhere.
Yes, there's a hidden crimp.
Somewhere along...
Yeah.
Pardon me, along the...
yeah, it has a crimp bead cover over it because
it's great.
Crimp bead covers are the best.
They are the best. No, it's really, it's such a great piece.
And it is a go with everything kind of piece too. Which is another thing I like about this. Somewhat monochromatic, although this has a few colors in it.
It does read kind of that.
It reads
color.
that one color, kind of grayish, pinkish, bluish, brownish, purplish, pearlish.
Yeah.
Pearlish. There's a new word.
Yeah, there you go. Pearlish.
Pearlish.
Well, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about the materials and stuff that we're using, and then we have kind of we're going to talk a little bit about paletting with monochromatics. Okay, so let's go ahead, Bran. We'll move that to the side.
Actually, you know what? Let's keep this guy in here because I want to put this back on here.
Oh, okay.
And then we can use it to kind of point out.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Right.
Well, let's move the camera down.
Okay.
And let's start. Let's start by looking at what we've got.
And I went ahead and did the same beads that I used. These are all the same beads that we used for for this necklace, with a couple of additions. So not to give the prize away at the end of the event, but we have a little goodie bag coming for you if you place orders today, which will really give your pieces a nice kick in the interesting department.
Yeah, kick it up. Yeah.
Right. So a mix of real freshwater pearls, some of the big chunky big potato pearls, the 5mm cream. We also have the button. Now, this daisy button does have a little bit of a blue coloration to it, the vitriol, which I rather like because I think it feels sort of wintry still.
This kind of AB coating.
This particular one also has the gold button, the gold beading around the rim, and the gold in the center.
Right, makes it fancy.
Although I did choose silver findings for this, the bead crimps and the crimp covers. You could do gold as well if you really want to warm up even more. I thought the silver disappeared a little bit better amongst the ivory and the white.
Yeah.
Beautiful melons. This melon is just...
that melon bead is great.
That opal ivory mercury is just so pretty. This really reminds me of old-fashioned Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, definitely. Those mercury ornaments.
And that was definitely one of the colors that kind of popped up in this. You know, when we're looking at these kind of ivory and creamish pearls, I almost felt like this was... I hate to say it this way, but it sort of felt like it had a little bit of dirtiness to it. It was a little bit shabby chic.
Yeah, it had a little bit of vintage vintage sheen to it. Yeah,
that it was just looked a little worn and a little older, which I kind of liked in this. It kind of brought me to a happier place in the sense of it not being so perfect, stark white, new
feeling. Yeah, it had kind of the patina of the age on it. Yeah.
Right.
And what I like, and we'll talk about this when we start to do the stringing as well, what I love, what you picked, we have a seed bead in an 11, an 8, and a 6.
Right.
And you can see that right there. And they're all the same, bead. But when you stack them up, you can start to create little... little segments or little patterns, with them. And so this is something I do like to mix it up. So for me, I would have been all, one of those has to be matte or one of those has to be different. But when they're all the same, it's really cool.
I think
really
it ups
like
the
them.
impact a bit.
Yeah, I think it was a great choice for it. Yeah. And then all of these freshwater pearls that we have in some different sizes, and you can even jump into your bead stash and create with what you have.
Yeah, and I like mixing the glass and the pearls. It also kind of extends the spendiness of this particular piece, and that's something we always think about. If you're making it for yourself or as a gift, adding those pearls.
Is a factor.
Yeah, adding the seed beads in there makes those pearls go farther. We could have done this in with half the pearls.
Right, and just longer seed bead sections.
Yeah, you could have gotten 2 necklaces out of this. But, but really, there was a little bit left over, certainly enough for a bracelet, a multi-strand bracelet of all the materials left over. And I really had fun both doing things that had no pattern and then things that had some pattern to them.
This isn't quite in the frame.
Sorry. Things that had... almost no pattern to them, just lopping along, and then sometimes making a little section that felt like a little pattern that worked out.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that when we start to string. Like Janice mentions when in her Tricks of the Trade, when you're driving on the freeway and then you start to kind of change lanes or whatever, right?
Right.
So So, we'll talk a little bit about that when we pattern. Well, let's pull over. We pulled another palette. let's get rid of our little bowls. I know everyone's loving. There's a lot of bowl love for all of these.
I decided to do wood bowls today because the pearls were so white they would just disappear in the white bowls that we normally use.
We pulled some, and I'm just going to pull these out kind of to the center.
Look at this. Look at this button.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Look at this button.
This one is. Did we know? This is in our check glass button category. We just love this one, and it would be a great button for this
got
closure.
Glitter on the back.
Yeah, it's really great. And so what we jumped in with is we just pulled like all of the dark palette, the black beads. So we pulled some of these dark melons, the onyx beads in shiny and in matte, and then I went and I pulled some of the jet check fire polish. And then this is that jet bronze Picasso that I think falls in really nicely with this button. And then the seed beads, just a mix of the matte and the shiny in 6, 8, and 11. And then I don't know if this is the right one, since we had this jet bronze Picasso. I think maybe the hematite.
That cool in there?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right thing.
Let me grab one more thing.
Yeah, will you?
Yes.
Will you please?
We talked about one other thing and we didn't pull it.
Oh, Manny, you'd love to see a brown palette. I would too, actually. But any of this, when I love the browns, I think this would look great in browns. And I think throwing in like this.
I might have chosen a smaller hematite.
Oh.
But I would also, if I pulled those in there.
Yeah, that pearl.
Then I would love that
That's
hematite
better.
in there.
Yeah. Will you pull a seed bead that's better than that?
Okay.
Will you?
Would you?
Would you? But you can see it gives a little, it kind of does, that Picasso melon kind of does the same thing that this Ivory Mercury does, right?
Well, you know what
I like it. Palette for us on Pinterest, in your spare time. Yeah, totally. And yeah, Janice is posting the color collections. The color collections on beadshop.com are a great way to shop by color. So if you go to color collection and you click on the different colors, you can see everything we have in those colors. So it makes it really, really easy and fun to, and you can sort them by check too. Oh, there it is. It's the Flower Star is what this one's called.
Flower Star and Golden.
Flower Star Golden. And so, yeah, so these I think look really nice. And I might get something, you could also do like the gold. We could do the gilding matte, would look nice with this. So, it really just depends what you wanted to do. But pretend that you, just palette with all this stuff. What's the? Oh,
somebody said, "Am I under the
at
table?"
the table. No,
I'm right
She went in the other room. That's where she is. Yep. So let's jump in and start to string. Okay. This is a fun one. I like all of this start.
Yeah, I do too.
What we'll do is, you guys, we'll list all of this.
With the
ones
notes
that we pulled, we'll list them all on the episode notes. But basically, this is the. Will you look up the melons real quick?
Sure. I think
just
it's
so that we know.
Black
And
Picasso.
I know that Janice, she may have. Did she link it earlier? But these, I think, are the black Picasso. The melons are the 6mm.
I love the melons. I love that shape. I always have.
I do too, and the texture. And we have some new. Really, Black Picasso, 6mm Black Picasso melons. We have some new rondelles that are coming down the pike too, which are going to be great.
I can't wait.
We're filling out our rondelle collection in 8mm, and you're going to see some 6mm come up too. So it's going to be great. And then basically just all of the seed beads in black and matte and shiny. And then this was that jet bronze Picasso 4mm check fire polish. And then that Flower Star button.
I thought that golden Flower Star button was
really beautiful.
Splendid.
And this is, we could get definitely 2 necklaces.
Oh, anyway.
Out of this. To add a second button for whatever you need.
Now,
yeah, and we'll get the black bead list. That'll be up, Christina, on in the episode notes. But for today, it looks like Janice is linking them, which is great. So we'll and you can also always email us at info@beadshop.com and we can help you out. But we'll put these to the side so you guys will have that palette.
Here's another little clasp that I really like because it's called Round and
Oh,
Round.
the round and round, yeah.
I like
the round
it because
and round
it
hook.
spins.
Yeah.
You know?
Hence
Round
and
and round.
round, yes.
But it moves really well. So on a multi-strand necklace, it's nice to have it not bind up or get caught in anything. So
Yeah,
I really
it's
like
cool.
that, and I think
Yeah.
it looks kind of nice in this
And so
palette,
you
too.
had some other clasps. Let's look at the other ones.
I picked another
Get that
toggle.
leafy toggle.
This
Yep.
is one of my faves.
Yeah.
You know?
I like leafy toggle.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. And especially that pulls this over into, you know, that silver palette works really nicely with this too. And we could change this kind of goldy Picasso bead out for something different, maybe that had a little more of a silver tone to it. You know, we could even, I mean, we're kind of going against our monochromatic palette grain there, but see how you can just, if we take out those goldy ones and put in things that are silvery, how that works out really nicely, right? It's nice. Okay. So, all right, let's get to the nitty-gritty.
Okay. Let's do
Of
it.
how this little guy goes together. Let's throw that. Let's throw that over there.
Look at you.
And we'll keep this palette together for you guys. And we'll have Gracie photograph it and stuff. Okay. So,
I'm gonna move him over here.
stringing wise, for the necklace, we had some lengths. Do you want to talk about the lengths
Sure.
of what how long this piece was? And again, this is all strung on soft flex.
And you know, Kate and I had a little talk first thing this morning when we were talking it through here.
Do you want to move this
That,
forward just a little bit, Fran, so we don't get the... So we're a little tighter.
In the how did you assemble this so that we would sort of know what we were each talking about? Typically, if I was going to make a multi-strand necklace, I would actually start with the shortest length.
Right.
Just from a technical point of view, that's the kind of the strand that you want to be fitting the best.
Right, because that's the one that is kind of the marker
Right.
for how everything else lays.
And when I
Right.
actually did this one, I actually did it the opposite. I did what I don't usually do.
You started with the long one.
I started with the long one. And I really wanted to get that long length kind of established, knowing that my image for this was somebody wearing a velvet top or a neckline that was a little bit more plunging, a little more décolletage visible
For the holiday.
for the holiday.
Yeah.
You know, something a little bit more exotic. So I actually started with my longest strand, and that's a piece of soft flex at 44 inches.
So that was 44 inches. Okay.
And in the beginning and the end, I did a little bit of size 8s. So you
Okay,
can
so
see them
here.
right in here.
Right. So you started this section here first. You didn't
I just
add this at the end.
No, I used my bead stoppers, and I put a little bit of size 8 on
Okay.
there. Okay. And I felt like really what I was doing was just the preliminary for the finishing part. Okay?
Right.
And I went ahead and strung my long length. And then I strung my medium strand, and I used a piece of soft flex at 28 inches.
28 inches. Okay.
And then at the shortest piece, I did 24 inches of soft flex. So these are little longer pieces than you'd need to go around your neck particularly, but what they do give you is enough to work with for the clasp.
Well, I was going to say, you know, anytime I'm stringing, and I was actually stringing a necklace for a gift, and I was making it a 3-strand necklace, I cut the short strand. I just lopped off some soft flex, and it was just too short. And I knew when I was clipping it with that cutter, I'm like, this is too short. This is too short. It's going to be too short. So always, I think, jump in on the side of make it a little longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, if I was stringing a single strand, I actually wouldn't cut it from the spool at all.
Right.
I would just leave it on the spool. And then I would cut it off when I thought I had the right number of beads on it, the measurement that I wanted, leaving 4 or 5 inches to work with it. So these lengths are generous, and they give you the amount that you'd need to have extra. Okay, I did go ahead and string all 3 strands without attaching them to anything. When I had spoken with Janice,
so you mean not attaching them with anything?
No clasps, no crimp beads yet.
So you just strung, right? You didn't close them. Got it. Okay.
Right. It's funny when some of the inspiration that I had for this piece was hearing Janice's voice in my head. You know, make this look really nice at the finishing.
Right.
Make Make this look really sleek.
That's right. See, Janice. See how we listen to you.
We listen, really. But we had been talking about Softflex, and I had seen some things on beadshop.com with Softflex that I had never thought about doing before. It had just never crossed my mind, right? So as I finished these strands, I used the long strand as sort of the primary strand to marry them together.
So that was this long strand, this first one that you did, right?
Right.
That had these extra beads on it right here.
This guy right here. Straighten those out.
This one.
Yeah. And what I then did was I brought in my medium length strand, a few beads up from the end, okay, and fed it through some of those size 8 beads, and I stopped and crimped them together, or clipped it together with with
your bead stopper.
And then a few more beads up from that, I brought in the short strand.
Which I thought, when I came in and looked at this piece, I thought that was super clever. It was like you branched it so it didn't all bunch up. Because if you, and this is something that I see a lot with people that are just starting out. Here are your 3 strands, right? And I'm going to, hopefully this is in the frame. Here are our 3 strands. And you have big beads, 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 big beads. And you start to kind of taper, but those big beads get in the way of each other, right? So they displace this and they make this section look really awkward, right? But if I turn this towards the camera so you guys can see this, this is just how you can see how Emily branched those. Here's that main long strand, married with that medium strand up in 3, and then counting up 1, 2, 3 beads and adding this short strand in here. So it's like this one is the main highway, this strand merges, and then this strand merges a little further on. And I think it's a really great way to have a more elegant, sleek closure.
You know,
right?
it's always been it's been sort of a thought of mine always when I'm making jewelry, that I want the closure and the clasp to be part of the piece, not separate from it.
Right, and I think that's...
And letting it go together
to
make it look like it's supposed to be there and be one. If I was choosing a clasp for this, one of the things that I would think about is really first the functionality of maybe what I was going to do. Now, a toggle is very functional. We know that you are going to attach the strand on each loop of the toggle, here and here, and then the bar turns and fits through the toggle, and the weight of the necklace keeps the bar
keeps the bar in place.
So toggles are super functional, and I really like that. I also like that toggles come in lots of different sizes. There's nothing more silly looking than a very delicate necklace with a gigantic clasp sitting on,
or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
So picking a clasp that's proportional with my beads and really works functionally at the same time. Now, you might be making this for someone, and you might also want to take into account what their functional needs are. If their hands are a little bit unskilled or have a little bit of difficulty, it might be great to upsize that toggle just a little bit.
Just a little, so it's easier to grab.
So it's easier to grab and feel behind your head. It's one of the nice things about the button and the loop is that pretty much everybody's going to be able to function with that, and it's a no-brainer in that respect. right? I also like that I was able to find a button that really went so nicely with this whole
That whole palette.
It was just really, really great to find something that looked so good with it. And, you know, these are buttons and clasps are things that I probably pick up anywhere and anytime I see them.
Right.
Knowing that at some point someone will come to me.
Right, it's a stash builder.
It's a stash builder, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So after the joint, bringing these guys together, bringing that marriage together, I was worried that I actually wouldn't have enough room to fit 3 strands through all these and have it bend back and back through a crimp bead again. So I did something that, like I said, I've never done this before. I crimped my strands all together, all 3 strands in this first crimp bead, and then I cut off the other 2.
That's right. Yes, I love it.
So it was a little scary to me because I had never done it before.
Right.
But I immediately, the minute I began to string the rest of this loop on, I said, I've done the right thing.
Yeah.
I know this was the thing I needed to do.
Yeah.
So this gave me a lot more flexibility of what size that loop was going to be, what type of clasp I might have attached it to. Certainly, no beads were getting away at this point.
Right.
They were all kind of locked in. When I went to the other end, I did the same thing. Threw a crimp bead, all 3 strands crimped, and then the 2 shorter strands cut off, the extra. Okay.
Well, and we're going to actually show this technique on a bracelet live
here in a minute.
And what I'm doing, and I'll put this placement here, so I'll move this while you do a little bit of stringing there. And we'll talk. Yeah, Sherry, I'm going to show you the crimp covers and all of that kind of stuff as well. Let me put this little guy right here, front and center, so you guys can see it. And is yours done there? What I'm doing, since we're going to branch, I'm doing these at about 5.5.
Okay.
Inches.
I didn't actually measure mine because I figured we could slide some on or off. Yeah.
And so what we've got here, and go ahead and start stringing that third one. If you're doing this as a necklace, or as a bracelet rather, let's take a look at this closure. Because if, you know, a necklace closure, if it's a little short usually, or a little long, it's not the end of the world.
That's true. Bracelets are a whole other animal.
Bracelets are a whole other story. So that's why I thought it might be kind of fun to show you this on a bracelet today, the same method, so we could talk a little bit about sizing and measuring. That's one of the #1 questions we get on the bead table, on the blog, the emails. How do we measure? How do we measure? So first what I do is I take into account, and thankfully we have this one already made. Let's measure and see how long this closure is. Okay, so let me get my handy dandy measuring tape. And again, if I say kind of if this is where, pardon me, the closure or the tapering starts, and maybe it starts like over here, maybe, or so, pardon me, it's a little shy of 3 inches, maybe 2 3/4 inches or so, okay? So with the necklace, with the bracelet, we're not going to need it this long, because this is almost, for a bracelet for me, my bracelet would be about 7 1/4. This is almost half the bracelet right here. I'm looking at this. There's Ginger crimp bead. Yes, I'm going to cover all of that crimp covering, so don't you worry. I've got you covered. So what I want to do for the bracelet is we're going to try and reduce the number of beads that we have here on the ends. So I'm going to try and make this closure no longer than about 2 inches. Okay, so if my bracelet here, do a little bit of math, let's say that I want my finished piece to be about 7.5 inches. The clasp is about 2 inches. right? So I only have about 5.5 inches of beads. Right?
Shocking, isn't it?
That I can string.
Or you need.
Right? Right. So this measure, so that's what I measured these guys here at. This was 5.5 inches. Okay. And look, I just noticed, okay, this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that I just folded in half.
5.5 inches.
5.5 inches
Sneaky.
is my length of that paper. Isn't that clever? Now you can see that Emily, what she did here is she put a bead stopper on the end. Now, if you guys are stringing this and you're not at home, or you don't have all of your materials, or you don't have any bead stoppers, one of the things that we used for many years is we just use some cellophane tape, okay? And the cellophane tape, what I do is I just fold it over right here at the end and really fold it very mindfully, like I mean it, okay? So these little pieces of tape aren't going to fall off, because as you guys know, where is a bead's natural habitat?
On the floor.
On the floor, exactly. So don't see, like here with Emily's, we're just being so cavalier. This little end is open, and this is something that do as I say and not as I do. So let me, I'm going to taper down. I'm actually going to taper it down right. I'm going to end it here. So I'm going to take these guys off. Put that piece of tape there. And then I'll take a couple off from the other end. Now this really, and I always say, the finishing of the piece always takes about as long as the stringing sometimes. Seriously. Because there's a lot of kind of
back and forthing.
Back and forth that you can't be slapdash when you're closing if you're going to have a closure that's going to last. That's just how it is, folks, right?
I have 2 pieces of tape.
Yeah, you sure can. There you go. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was your couture quality necklace, right? There you go. This looks good. And I'm going to bead stopper this guy.
Okay.
There we go. So now let's just take a moment to look at our patterning and stuff that we've got here. And so I strung one of these and Emily strung 2. Okay, so there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to them. But I do see, what I do see is that these are kind of lined up maybe a little, I don't know, I don't want to say awkwardly, but it's not quite, you know, maybe what I would have wanted. So, and I do this all the time. So maybe what you might want to do is turn one of those strands around. Okay, look at that. That's a little bit better. These two still, I think, are bumping up a little. Maybe I would want it to go, come back now. Maybe I'd want it to go over here. Maybe I'd want that one to be the middle strand, so maybe I'd want that there. And maybe I'd want that, this one, I don't know, maybe over here. So what I could do in this case, I look at this and I go, okay, my 2 strands, my top and bottom are right. It's my middle strand that needs a little bit of zhuzhing, I guess, maybe is the word. So maybe I want it like this. So what I'll do, this is my little trick here. What I'll do is I'm going to take from this end these little guys. I'm going to take off my tape. I'm going to add, may I have another piece of tape here? I'm going to put my, have this ready to go. I'm going to take these guys all off. See how I'm pinching them between my fingers? Does that show there? Yes. I'm going to slide this off so they stay. I'm going to put my tape on. I'm going to slide everything over on this side, tear off my tape, and just slide these bad boys back through. So I just took them from one side to the other, and I can see this is still, it's just a touch long. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of that melon bead.
And save the seed beads?
Save the seed beads.
Good.
Okay. Check that length again. And it looks like I can take them off from right there. And then I'll tape it. So I'm just taking from one side and adding it to the other. So let's look and see how this is shaping up. There we go. And see how you can see like the big beads are nicely spaced. And so this is one of my tricks when I'm actually going to take this guy off because I'm a little distracted by him. This is one of the tricks that I do so I don't have to lay things out, right? You can just kind of fix it on the fly.
I'm not much of a layer outer. I'm
not.
a kitchen sinker. I put it all in there and then start working with it, you know?
And I can see, so now I start to really figure out the length on these guys. So see, these two ends, they line up perfectly here. But see, again, we're a little off here. So I'm going to come in, take away the tape. Janice and I have always said if we had bought shares in Scotch tape years ago, we would have been millionairesses.
Scotch tape and duct tape.
Right, duct tape. Let me get this little bead, this one little bead. Yeah, Janice is saying she's working on a sample and moderating at the same time. Janice, I can't wait to see
So talented.
that sample you're making. We have some brand new beads that Janice is working with. So it's gonna be a really nice piece. So again, see how I'm laying this out, double checking that length. So look at that. Now that works. And you can see, I can also see how my beads are nestling in. So good. So now these are done. Let's check this third strand. Okay. And again, with a necklace, you guys, it's not this fiddly, but I thought that it would be a good way to show you guys, you know, the fiddliness of the bracelet portion. And then I can see, let me pull these two next to each other, and let's see what this looks like. Okay. So now, I think that these are all correct. Let me pull this closure back in so we can look at it. So now, Em, what you did was, you, on one strand, you started then with all of your size 8s. Size 8s are the ones to taper.
Yep.
Okay.
And I brought one strand in at a time. So you can maybe even end up shortening these a little bit more,
Maybe
depending
even,
if they have some bigger beads
right,
in them.
bigger beads. So I'm going to take this end off. And I think instead of, like here, you used 2. Let's see if we can get away with 1.
Okay.
I'm going to put 1 there.
We could have used a 6 as well.
We could have. I'll put that one there. And then I'll put on a second. Let's see, it's going to go through that one. And then I'm going to put a second one over it. And we'll send that strand through. Brandon, am I in frame?
You're kind of right at the top edge there,
Okay.
but mostly in.
Mostly in, okay. So now, let's see. Marlene, you said turn that middle strand around. Let's see. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think I'm going to take your advice. Let's do it. I needed that long end anyway. So let me get this strand out of the way.
You know, when I did the necklace, each of the main strand, the branches came in at different heights.
Right.
On a bracelet, it actually might be better if all of them come in together.
Yeah, let's see. I want to try it at the different heights just to illustrate it so people can see how you did it. And then we could do one side one way and one side the other way too, even if we wanted. So you can see how this is coming in. And then you strung both of these together now, right?
I strung all 3 through a crimp bead.
But I need to marry the third strand.
Yep.
So I'm going to put
You can do that. Yeah, you can put the
2 on.
Sure.
Then I'll put on a third. Then I'll put that third strand in through this third one, right?
Right.
There we go. And now I'm going to tape all 3 of these together. Take a huge sigh of relief.
So on this also, I would also keep the longest strand a little longer, just so that I would know which was which.
Okay.
When I got there, but we're doing fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's take a look and see how it looks when it's all bunched together. So here is, and I think it looks great. I like how it looks with the pardon me, with the big one.
Yeah, I do too.
And the offset here. So now, what we've added lengthwise, we've added maybe about a 1/4 of an inch, maybe. So now, but what we've got over here, things are not even anymore, right? Because something is going up tall and something is going up shorter.
And you end up with a little bit of air there.
Right, you need some air.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
Another benefit to having lots of mixed sizes of beads is they don't usually sit together so firmly, so you don't have to worry too much about the air problem. It begins to help sort itself out.
So now, door to door, we're at about, if I measure from the longest strand, we're at about 6 inches, which gives us about 1.5 inches for the clasp.
Which I think is fine.
I think so too. So what we can do here, let me measure like from this clasp, you know, this connection here, and see how much we've got to play with. So that's about 1.5 inches. So what we were at, 6, 7. Yeah, so we're about right. So I'm actually going to take off a little bit here. I think we might be just a little long.
Okay.
So I'm going to see which is, I think that this long strand is the one I'm going to take a few beads off of. And I'm going to put 1 bead on this one. Now I know I haven't taped these back up, so again, I'm playing with fire.
And you're working without a tray.
I am working without a net. So now, this is where we would crimp everything, right, and reduce after I taper these, right? So let's do it.
But I want to make sure that you leave enough down here,
right, to work
do
with
your other on that longest strand.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to string this, and then we'll even out our strands on both ends. So it looks like we had 2 big beads. We brought 1 strand in under that second bead. Then we had 2 more beads. These are the size 8/0 seed beads. Sorry, I need to make sure. Brandon, just holler at me if I'm out of frame.
It didn't look like it on the screen, but it looked like it over here. I'm not sure how that was going on.
Trying to keep myself in frame. So 2 more. Then I put on that third size 8 and merge that third strand through that 8. Really ingenious, Em. That's right. Yes, the button that says playing with fire. You do, Janice. Yes. That's right. So now, and what Emily means is that, see how I've got a whole bunch of soft flex over here and not a lot of soft flex over here? We need to even everything out to make sure that I have enough working soft flex on both ends, especially one.
Yes.
One long one.
One long one.
Because that's going to be the one.
So for this bracelet demo, I cut the pieces about as long as the bead tray, which is about 14 inches. So a foot to 14 inches would probably give you enough to play around with for a bracelet. And, you know, I never throw away scraps of soft flex that I think I might be able to use for something else. Sometimes you can make an earring. Sometimes you'll have enough to get a single strand bracelet whipped out on a little bit of a scrap. So, you know, even if you have a little bit left over, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And Manny asked, did we say what weight of soft flex we were using? And you know what? We probably didn't. We're using the .014. I'll pull this in. It's this one, the fine. That guy right there. And I like using this size because it fits nicely with the freshwater pearl. It's heavy enough.
And I did find that I had to clip a couple of times as I was working.
Yeah, the end could
get a little
get a little raggedy. Yeah. Janice, stop ordering beads when you're moderating Facebook Live. Oh my God. Brandywin's shaking her head. We never know what we're going to get, right? Janice will, next week she'll go, oh, that's what I ordered doing Facebook Live. We've got 12 new colors coming.
Karen's about to come out of her office.
Right, yeah. Karen's, that's right. So let me turn this over, you guys, so you can see how this is bunching together. Okay? And it looks, I think it looks pretty good. This closure here with this big pearl, I don't know if I love
like
it, but I don't hate it. So
you know what I like
leave
about them? It gives it a little dimension.
Yeah, a little dimension. So I'm okay with it. Yeah. So, all right. So let's do a measurement. Again, we need to measure. So let's see. So we're at 6 inches, which I think is perfect.
Right.
Because then we can elongate or take away as we need. And see how I evened out the edges. Jenna says, stop, JP. You can also see how I've got plenty of soft flex here on the ends. Okay, so Em, I want you to bring your wrist in because this is also kind of important when you're doing a bracelet like this. We're looking at it flat here, but we also kind of want to see how it might look
dimensionally.
Yeah, in the round. Because when it's really being worn, that's you know, that's how it's going to be. So we want to make sure that it's okay. And I think it looks fine. And I also sometimes, like if I were making this to fit M, I would give myself a visual. And I would say, oh, okay, this is how I get like my fingertip under there to make sure that there's enough room, especially when you have a bracelet that's multiple strands and has beads that are a little bit bigger. You need a little more space, okay? So we want to make sure I've got my little finger width in here. Again, not as critical with a necklace, but it's the same thing. If this were the necklace on Emily, I would hold it up in the back and I would, you know, just kind of eyeball it. And yeah, Kim, the easy measuring tool, the cone, that would work as well. Sometimes I find, though, that since that cone is tapered, I love it for a single strand. Sometimes it's a little difficult with multiple strands, okay? So I just give myself this visual, and I'll get my tape measure. And again, if I were making this for Emily, I would say that I have about 2.5 inches to work with here, okay? So let's, oh, Gita, you know, sometimes, Gita, I think Facebook, if we overlink or if there's a weird link, they mark it as spam. Don't fret. I've seen that happen once or twice before, so I think it's just the Facebook algorithm.
And Manny was mentioning, where's Janice's paper tube when you need them?
Yeah.
Yeah, the paper tube I actually maybe like a little bit better than the cone.
Yeah, I like the cone for single strands. I'll be honest, because it's fast and it's easy, and you just plop it on there. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. But when it's a little more complex like this, our paper tube works really well.
Yep.
So now, what I think I'm going to do Emily, is I'm going to bring, so the reason we're tapering this down, you guys, just to reiterate, and I'm going to show this here. You can see this is what's tapered. It would be really difficult for me at this point to bring all 3 strands of soft flex under here, right?
Keeping track of all 3.
Keeping track of all 3 and getting all 3 under a crimp tube, right? I'm going to use that 2x2 crimp tube, and it's big. I could probably get 2 strands through.
Sure, but you got to go back through it again.
But I got to go back through it, so 3
it's like
strands.
4.
Yeah, so 3 strands won't work.
Yeah.
But I have done 2 strands through these. Okay, so I'm going to do. So that's why we are thinning the herd, as it were. We're going to thin these down. So I'm going to get my size 8. My size 8. Yeah, you guys could totally do a multi-strand.
Absolutely.
It's no big. You guys have got this. Do a necklace and a bracelet.
And the
It's
best
all
part
good.
about this is by the time you get to the bracelet, if you're doing you do the necklace first, you have enough beads left over for a bracelet, for sure.
Yeah, you totally do.
Yeah.
So on this end, I'm not going to worry about getting the super tight right here.
No.
I'm going to adjust everything on the other side. Now, what side should I do first, you guys? What do you think? Do I do the button first, or do I do the loop first? What do you reckon?
Any thoughts?
Thoughts?
I know what I would do.
I know what I would do,
But
too.
I'm a one-note wonder anyway.
Well, I would do the button.
I would absolutely do the button.
And why is that, Emily Miller?
Because you can always make the loop to fit.
Exactly.
Rather than have to go shopping for a bigger button.
Exactly right.
Or smaller buttons.
Exactly. So we're always going to do this button size first. Plus, if you make this size, like I'm going to put the button on and I'll measure it one more time. If I need to make this loop just slightly larger to get my length,
You're okay.
then I can. I'm okay. Okay? That's right. Button. Everyone knows. Good
Right.
job,
Good,
you guys.
Good. Didn't hear any loops coming out there.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to crimp all of these together. Okay? So this is where I want everyone to take a deep breath with me. Deep breath, everybody. Cleansing breath in, cleansing breath out. It's not that big of a deal. Okay? So here goes. I'm going to tap all 3 of these strands together. So they come in, they're lined up like little soldiers. And let me make sure, Bran, make sure I'm in frame.
You are
Am I good?
beautifully in frame,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
I'm zoomed in right on you, so don't move too far.
I won't.
Because I want to get this nice and close.
I'm going to slide that crimp tube on over all 3. Right? And this is where, Emily, you were saying if it's a little ragged, trim it.
Trim
Give
off
it a
a
little
millimeter
trim.
or 2.
Yep.
Because those raggedy ends of the soft flex make it hard
to clip, right?
Yep.
So you can just trim and then get that guy on there. And we're going to slide all of this down. Being mindful that we don't need to worry about making this tight yet. We're going to take
Correct.
that up on the other side. Now, what I want to do at this point is I want to make sure that all of my strands, and this really makes a difference, all of my strands are laying side by side. If they're twisty like this, you're going to have little bits of air inside that crimp tube, and it won't crimp as securely, as tightly, right? So I'm going to get your friend and mine the crimping plier, and you guys remember this from Soft Flex 101. You can go and you'll see why Janice put all of these little dots and little dots and stuff on here. Okay, and yeah, it's a 2 millimeter crimp tube, Anna, the 2x2, heavy wall. Okay, now when I go into crimp at first, I'm in the crimping, little crimping section here, but I check to make sure that my plier is completely covering my crimp tube.
So the crimp tube is within the metal of the jaws.
There's nothing sticking out on either side because I've got to get that crimp crimped completely across. If I don't get the crimp completely crimped across, when I go to fold it, it's going to open and not close.
Yep.
And that is something that I have seen time and time again.
I would say that's probably the number one problem with crimping.
With crimping
is
when
just
it
not
fails.
getting the first
Yeah.
one crimped properly.
So stop and check. Take a swig of water if you need to. And here is that, it's like a little taco.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a
all in
dimpled
there.
crimp.
It's a dimple. All right. So now we're going to fold it. So with this crimping plier, this is the Xuron crimping plier. And you can see when I close the jaws, there are 3 little dots here that represent the 3 different sizes of crimping or folding sections here. This center one, that's the 2x2 size. And so we marked it with that pink nail polish. The blue nail polish is for the larger crimp, the 3x3, and that smaller one is for the 1x1. So it's all 3 sizes in one crimper.
Mary Ellen was just commenting she has a hard time getting her crimps done close to beads. You know, it takes a little moment of being kind of cautious.
Yeah, it takes some finesse.
And the one thing I do like about the Xuron crimping tools is the jaws are not bent, they're straight. So
Right, they're not curved to the side.
right,
Yeah.
this allows you to get in just nice and straight and even with this. I do like this now over the original crimper that I used for years and years. And you know, because we have a little air to work with on this one, it's nice and thought-provoking that you could actually, on any necklace that you do, the first crimp you do is sort of a freebie.
Yeah, it is.
You don't really have to worry too much about it. And then the second one, you have to be a little bit more mindful.
A little bit cautious. And Janice was saying you need to leave the crimps a little bit of air. And you do, and you'll see this when I do this on the second one. So I'm going to bring it into the second side, or not the second side, but the middle section here. And can you see how the crimp tube is really laying on its side like this? How it's really, I just want to turn it towards me, yep. How it's really laying towards its side. Oh, I want to say goodbye. Bye, Sherry. Thank you. We wish we could get that lemon curd too. All right. Merry Christmas
Merry
to
Christmas.
you. Okay. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to crimp like I mean it. Okay. So I squeeze. And again, that crimp is completely confined in the crimping plier. Okay. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to give it one last little hug with the tip of this tool. Okay. And that last little hug helps me to close that taco so it's nice and tight. Look at how closed that is.
Not going anyplace.
It's not going anywhere.
And that's what gave me the confidence to reduce those numbers of strands. Is once that crimp is really fully closed, and I know it's closed, it's not going anywhere.
We're going to be okay.
I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. So now you reduced yours by 2.
I did.
So let's do it. Let's reduce it by 2. So I'm going to come in, and if I had one that was markedly longer than the others, that's the one I would use. But since these are even, and I want to measure this length so you know how much I'm working with. I'm working with about 3 1/4 inches of soft flex.
And since you're putting the button on, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. That's right, because I want all this extra for the loop.
Right.
So I'm going to hold this in my chain nose pliers just so you guys can see it a little bit better. So this is the one I'm going to keep. So I'm going to hold it back here. I'm going to hold it a little bit closer so I have a little more control. No. Let me scratch that. Can we take a second? We'll take a second take. Take two. I actually want to hold the ones that I'm going to cut away because I really need to really tightly get in there.
So you're cutting, I like to do this too, cutting with a little tension.
Yeah, so see how I'm pulling on one here and I'm pushing just gently and clipping at the same time. All right, so I don't have little bits of soft flex there. I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to do it one more time. Okay. Slide, and I really want to make sure that my third strand is out of the way because I don't want it to all end in tears. I don't want to nick it or else it will break. Okay, there we go. All right, So now, look at that. It's ready. And you can see, don't stress that there's space there.
Everything's going to slippy slide down.
Everything's fine.
Teresa was saying that she can't do all the random patterning. You know what, Teresa, a really great bead teacher I know used to tell people that they would have to put their beads in the tray on their lap under the table.
That's right.
And pull beads out.
Yeah.
How mean is that?
I was pretty mean.
That's pretty mean.
Yeah, it's pretty mean of me.
Yeah.
But you can do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think doing random is harder than a pattern.
It is. It is. So now what you want to do, did you crimp the other side off, Em, or did you finish it off here?
I finished it off.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I'll finish it off then.
Okay.
So now we're going to hide this.
With a crimp cover?
With a crimp cover. Oh my God, Kate, I can't. Teresa, yes you can. You can. You are the master.
Who's the boss?
You're
Teresa.
the boss. Who's the boss?
Who's the boss?
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Janice King. Merry Christmas to you. We'll see ya. We'll see you soon. So with the crimp cover.
And Gita, you too can do this.
Yes. With the crimp cover, what we're going to do now is I place my crimp cover. Sometimes I have good crimp cover days, and sometimes I have bad crimp cover days. Let's see what this one's like.
I do mine differently.
I want to see how you do it.
All right, I'll do the other end.
Yeah.
Or I'll do the end of this one.
So see here, I'll hold it in my the little folder, the folding section of the crimping plier. And I'll just slide it in so the little taco is facing up. And then I just kind of take it out and kind of jangle that in there. So can you see how the crimp, if the crimp is nicely
crimped,
closed, folded, right, you're going to have, it's going to be compact enough to fit in the cover. So now this is where it gives people fits. I'm going to put it back in the rounder. That was the word I was looking for, the rounder part of it. And I gently squeeze it, just gently. And then I turn it around, put it back in the rounder, gently squeeze it. Now, if you have a little bit of an opening there, I come in and I close it on that opening. And see how I'm just rounding it kind of back and forth, right around in that rounder, in the biggest rounder section. And I'm really, delicate touch, you guys, no death grip on this. It's a little out of my vision zone, so it's a little, I want it to be a little closer to my eyes. But that looks pretty good. Okay. Teresa, you're at work. You know what? We won't tell. We're at work too.
Yeah.
So we've got something in common. Okay. So now you finished it, Em, right?
Yep.
So let me, for a bracelet, what I might do is, I guess we have to remeasure, huh? Ooh, we better hurry too. I'm being a little too, we don't want to go over too much. So I'm going to say, yeah, that we need probably 2. And
just
then,
a couple.
Yeah, just a couple. 1, 2. And then you close that loop with size 11s, right? So it looks like you strung 3. So I'm going to string 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
And then the button.
And the button. All right. Oh yeah, thank you, Janice, for putting up those skill builders. We've got a lot of skill builders on our website at beadshop.com, and a lot of them, and one of them is all about crimping and closing. So let's see, you did 3. I put on 4. I don't know why I did that. So 3, then the button. We see that?
And 3 more.
And 3 more. 1. You know what I didn't do? Because I'm so...
Did you forget a crimp bead?
I did, because I'm so focused on getting this loop done. So I'll take off that button.
Well, it's nice. Nothing's going to go away at this point. Everything's
I take
kind
off
of
those
secure.
3. I keep those 3 in my fingers.
Here.
Oh, there, is it there? Perfect. Yeah, I think that one, I'm throwing that one behind me.
Oh, is that a bad
That
one?
one was a bad one.
Okay.
But there it is. And now I just put these back on. Look at that. And I put on the button, and I put on 3 more. 1.
So I just use these seed beads a little bit
2,
like
3.
I use bullion wire to kind
Right,
of
to
keep
cover the or a wire guard.
right, to keep the soft flex from rubbing
Yeah.
on the button shank.
So now this is where we need to be a little, things get a little crazier.
Only slightly.
Only slightly. We want to make sure, though, that we're not leaving too much
Air.
space, too much air. This crimp also is giving me, is
Fits.
not good.
I'm gonna hand me the little
So
bowl
I
and
take
I'll
this
find
one
another.
off, this one off,
Find you some better ones.
this one off. Let me try, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm going to give you that. Let's try this one. I want a good crimp. Sometimes these crimps, is that a good one?
Mhm.
Perfect. That's what I want. So the crimp tube,
Well, they're so tiny and they are kind of delicate.
my
you
seed
know?
beads. Yeah,
Doesn't surprise me that we get a bad one now and again.
no, you do. And of course, luck of the draw when you're on air. It always happens, right?
Yes,
Yes,
Kimberly.
it does. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. That's why I throw them over my shoulder.
Teresa, welcome to the beading family for sure.
I know. We like a beading family.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So
And
3 and
they
3.
owe you that time at work because I know you work overtime.
Yeah.
And don't get paid
We
for
know
it.
you. We know you're working hard. So see here. Through that crimp. Now, we're going to just hold on to that button.
Can I interject something?
Yeah.
I actually go through those seed beads as well.
Do you?
I do. And that's, I think, what gives me a little bit of air movement right when I need it.
I am and I'll do this for this one. I am a crimper. These little 11-aughts want to just not,
Fit through.
they want to slide through, but they don't want to, there we go. So stay there. There we go. I'm going to slide this then back through those 2. I am a cut your soft flex at the crimp kind of a gal. But I can see why you're doing this, Em, because it makes that crimp tube sit
It's easier to get in there and
evenly.
crimp. Yep.
Yep, I agree. So see here, see how I pulled this down? My button, there's some movement there. There's just the tiniest, see that? The tiniest bit of play there. And I'm going to come in, my soft flex side by side, right? Side by side. And we're just going to crimp. I'm going to check it to make sure that there's no 11-aught that's going to be crushed. I'm not going to crush the hopes of this 11-aught by breaking it. Crimp, check. Make sure that crimp is all the way across, okay? Turn it just like we did before in that center one, then I'll turn it so you guys can see it. I just need to check the spacing there. Come in, close it, and give it that little hug with the tips of the pliers. Now I'll come in and I'll clip it away.
You know, I've never been a fan of crimps because I didn't like how they looked. And the minute the crimp covers came out, if your crimp is a little homely or a little lumpy,
Well,
it's
sad.
all
Sad
okay.
times.
And
Yeah.
if you're worried about it being a little rough, that's okay. Put a crimp cover over it.
Yeah.
It just hides a multitude of problems.
Put a bird on it.
Put a bird on it.
That's right. In the immortal words of Portlandia. So now, on the other side, if crimp is not all the way across, can you crimp it again?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Absolutely, Manny. That's exactly right. So you can see we've got a little bit of air here. I'd go ahead and I'd put a crimp cover on, but I'm not going to take up the time to do it right now. But you could. And this actually looks fine, and it's hidden over the button, so I'm not overly
And the loop's
concerned.
going to be over it,
Yeah.
too.
And you can see I'm going to just slide everything up so everything is visually tight. That's the thing. I still want to make sure that when I'm coming around, that my
and a nice soft one.
Yeah, that it's soft, that it's not super, super tight. So now we just want to make this match. I put on a second bead. Now we're going to reduce those strands. I'm going to go a little bit faster on this one, so because we're starting to get towards the end and I don't want to go over too much. That one's a bad one. I threw it over my shoulder and hit Emily with it. That
no,
one.
you didn't.
There we go.
I moved too fast. You couldn't hit me.
Give me a good
Hurt
one.
me.
There we go. And I'm going to need one more. So we'll put this single one on. Slide it through. Again, let's make sure that everything is laying side by side. Now this is where it could all end in tears. Okay? We must make sure, because once this is crimped, we've got to keep going forward. If we crimp this incorrectly, I don't want to strike fear into your heart, but if this goes wrong, we got to restring.
Well, that's just reality.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that I'm here tight, here and here, that I'm tight, visually tight, but not physically tight. We're good. We've got a nice hand, a nice drape here. I don't have it splayed out flat like this and tightened. I have it in that circle. So now I'm going to come in and we're going to crimp. Everyone take a deep cleansing breath. Have the courage of our convictions, and let's crimp. You can do it. And you know what? Who cares? If I did miss crimp, meh. No big deal.
Really,
it didn't take that. It's already laid out. You just restring it. No big, right? There are worse things that can happen. I'm going to come in and I'm going to fold. And then I'm going to hug. That's the thing. Check down, look down the side of your crimp to make sure there's no air, that it's nice and closed. Now let's reduce. A thimble would work instead of seed beads, so that rubbing of the soft flex. A thimble. A thimble. Do you mean a crimp cover? I mean a wire guard? Is that what you mean? Karen? I'm going to reduce the other strands. Hopefully I cut the right one. Leaving, if there's a longer one, I leave the longer one intact. I'm going to quickly put a crimp cover.
Yes, wire guard.
Yeah, wire guard. Yep. I would. Yeah, you could. You could wire guard it. I like the look of these seed beads. Kind of fits within the spirit of the piece. But I love wire guards. I use them all the time. See, this, I'm having a little trouble with the crimp cover. It's because I really need to hug that crimp tube. There we go. I want to go quickly, but I don't want to go so quickly that my skills are off. Now, to make this crimp cover sit nicely on this side, it needs to have a little space to go. See, there needs to be a little bit of space between the first bead and the crimp tube so that the crimp has somewhere to sit, right? If it's too tight, that crimp bead is going to make everything off. There we go. And let's go ahead and I'm going to get my crimp plier around it. And I'm going to start to round it. Come on now. Emily, you were saying, do you do this by hand? You weren't doing it. I'm fumbling a little bit on this side.
You know, I used to try and hold it in the plier to get it on there. And now I've found that if I kind of have it in my forefinger and thumb and I pull the crimp into the opening. It's a little hard to explain, but it's instead I'm not threading the needle, I'm needling the thread.
Right. There we go.
Instead of trying to put the crimp cover around the crimp, I'm putting the crimp into the crimp cover.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to
and that
actually
seems to
do
work
here.
for me a little bit better.
Yeah, there we go.
And we've got a number of questions about what a wire guard is.
Sure.
Sure. Oh, Gita just pointed the link going. I
Yeah,
think I've got one.
Do you have one sitting here?
Yeah, there's one right here.
Why don't you show that? I'm going to get this closer to my eyes, you guys. That's part of the problem is that I can't see what I'm doing. So bear with me here just
How am I
a
doing,
second.
Brandon? Did I land in a good spot?
Right at the lowest end, so
Okay.
don't go any lower.
All right.
Oh.
So a wire guardian is this little finding right here. And what it is it's a tube that's bent into a horseshoe shape. So the wire goes through and comes out the other side. And what its sole job is to prevent the wire...
To guard your wire.
To guard your wire, to prevent the wire from rubbing poorly on that little loop. I think it makes kind of a bigger loop than necessary, but I get where a lot of people really like it. And it's sort of like the crimp cover idea.
Yeah.
It does add some aesthetic value here. Makes it look a little more consistent. All those things are very good. I love a crimp cover. I don't love the mechanical look of the crimp bead particularly.
Right.
And to me, the wire guardian is just adding more mechanics.
Well, what I like about the wire guard is, especially if you have all of your metals matching,
It does disappear.
it helps. It really does help
Yeah.
it disappear.
And you use a pair, so you use one on each end. This one doesn't have one on here because it's the jump ring. But anytime you see the wire and chain, or the soft flex and the chain interacting, that's a great place to put one of those wire guardians.
And I think that it gives it, just the right amount of play. Because sometimes, especially with those toggle clasps, sometimes the shank on that toggle can be a little thick, can be a little heavy. So you need a little more room.
Well, and I always sort of think that when you're adding a clasp, you're really adding a joint. You know, and you want that joint to move in every direction. And one of the things I liked about the button was that it does move in every direction really smoothly within its loop.
So now I've got that crimp cover on. Gosh, after fighting with it. Where's my other crimp? There it is. So let's get this on. So now we're going to make the loop. And what Emily did, and I'm just going to count these, she did 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So let's make it 24. Right? And, oh, Kim, you use the wire guards with the stringing and knots as well. I like that idea. That's interesting. So we're just going to get all of these guys in. Again, I cut the tip of this soft flex because it can get a little raggedy. What soft flex is under that flexible outer plastic coating is a twisted wire cable, right? So that twisted wire cable can kind of untwist a little bit on the ends and get a little frayed to make it a little difficult to string through the beads, especially if they have a small hole. Let me count these up real quick. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24.
I can't believe this, but they actually posted the black palette already. Just the palette.
Impressive.
On the blog already. We'll send a picture. I know. It's like magic.
How did this even happen? Oh my God, team!
Grace and Drea, we're on it.
You guys, that's like, you guys are working behind the scenes. It's amazing. It only is the test of it to this amazing team that we have. Well, while that was going on, I closed up this loop, and let me backtrack it just a little bit. I just came back through with the end of my crimp, and I had my crimp tight down here next to my beads, and I just pulled everything nice and tight so everything slides down nicely. Okay, and again, I want a little bit of play. Now this is where I want to check it one more time. Do you have the tape over there? Please, oh please. It's all about Tria. Nicely done, Tria. You're amazing. What a team. What a team. I'm gonna tape this down. Hi, Joanne Nash. Well, you can always watch it on the replay. No worries. I'm gonna hold that. So now I can have the loop. There we go. Be nice and closed.
And test it.
And test it.
Yep.
Right?
Because what's worse than a loop that doesn't fit?
Is a loop that's...
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. It's just, it's too big or it's too... I also want to make sure that I've got some play in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be too stiff.
Yeah.
So I can now lay it out and let me get a measurement. And we're at just where it sits, dead on, 7.5 inches.
Beautiful.
Nicely done, us. So let's go ahead and crimp it. What I will even do sometimes is I'll close it so that everything is in the round. And I'm going to come in. I'll just slide this tape down a little bit. I won't take it off totally. I've got a little bit of play in there, but that's all right. That's what I want. It'll all even out after I crimp. And shall I go for it, Em?
Do it. Do it. Do it. I want to see it.
Really being mindful that I don't have any seed beads underneath my crimping plier, okay? Because this crimping plier would break those beads. I flatten. And remember, these are, you could do size 11s with this loop, but I did 8s.
I thought it proportionally it matched the,
it
the
worked.
button a little bit better.
I agree. So, crimp, check that fold. If it's not quite all the way crimped, you can come back in and recrimp it. All right. Now the final fold. I come in and I fold it. Give it a little fold. Give it a little hug with the tips of these Xuron crimpers. Now I check it. Yep, looks folded. Now I know, Em, what you did, and we did it on the other side, and I didn't do before we did this, is you ran it back through. But I could come in and run it back through here. Sometimes I find that when you run it back through like this, it does want to eventually work its way out. If it does, you can clip it off then. But it's down, it's here now. Everything looks good. And I'm going to pull it tight and clip that extra soft flex away. And I'll come in a little bit later and I'll put crimp covers here and here. But here's the back. You can see the back of it. There we are. We're complete.
Done and done.
Done and done. Let's pull the closure from the original back in above it. This is really, I think, the most important thing, you guys, is that this loop has a little bit of play. If
well,
it's
and you don't
too
want
stiff,
it to be forcing it. You're going to be stressing it every time.
Yeah, it'll be a stress point on this piece. Okay. So look, we've got a lovely set. We've got a bracelet and a necklace. And we'll have Gracie take a photo of this as well, you guys, so you can see it. Okay? Yeah. I do, Marlene, I make sure that my 2 wires side by side before I crimp. If they're crossed, there's going to be air in that crimp, and that makes it a little bit weaker. So side by side by side by side. All right. So let's move that camera.
All right.
And wrap this holiday edition of Facebook Live. We'll wrap that up. We made a fine mess.
Yeah, we did. Not too much, though.
We? Not too bad.
No.
We did a good job, if I do say.
I think so.
I know how to make what I make. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad that comment went by too quickly. Carrie, I'm so glad. Great, great. And thanks, Joanne. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really fun. Now I can take a breath. We did it.
Yeah, we did.
It was really fun. It was a good mix.
Yeah, it is.
Totally. It does look vintage. Well, Emily did that. You pulled this palette.
Yeah.
It was a nice one.
Well, and I guess I'm
Let's put
not
the neck back in.
so much of a sparkly kind of person, but I do like a little sparkle, you know, and this has got a little bit of glitziness to it.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of evening out
Little
feel
glam.
to it,
Yep.
you know.
It is perfect for New Year's Eve, perfect for any special occasion. You guys I saw a lot of you say that they thought they were done with their Christmas gifts, but their holiday
Perhaps
gifts,
not.
but maybe perhaps not now. I don't know if that kind of shows up there with that pin. So there we go. Great. Well, welcome, Lori. We're glad that you found us too. Well, welcome. We're so glad. Well, okay, so that's it.
That's kind of it.
Okay, bye. I'm like, wow. I'm stoked. This is good. This is a good one.
This was a
really
fun one, and it was
really fun.
It definitely has a few things to say about design and functionality, and how we put things together.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it was great. So for next week, we are going to be on Friday, Free Tip Friday. I have something fun for you guys on Free Tip Friday, so we'll have a fun time then. And then next week is our year-end wrap-up. And we have a great project for you. We're calling it the year-end wrap. And some of you have seen this project in our Facebook group, the Bead Table, beadshop.com, the Bead Table. It's the piece that I did with chain and some beads and using a vintage find for the closure. So we're gonna string. You're gonna see me we'll use the wire guards.
Right.
And you'll see me do some wire wrapping. So we're going to wrap it all up next week with our year-end wrap.
Put a bow on it.
Fun. Put a bow on it, exactly. So that's going to be what's going to be coming up next week. For this week, we have a fun little giveaway for you.
Janice is so eager to find out.
Is she? Is she? Yes, we always do that. So if you're watching this live today, and we went a little long today, but we had a lot to share with you. Plus, it was my first day back after being, well, not my first day back, but my first Facebook Live back after being off. So if you order, today is the 20th of December. 12/20/2017. If you place an order today before about, let's say 1:15, after about an hour, and you write in your shipping notes, sparkle and shine, look what we have for you.
We have,
Maybe
I should put them in here.
Yeah, hold them in your hand.
Yeah. We have some fire polished crystal and some extra large pearls.
Yeah,
to
and
mix
these
in.
are the glass faceted crystals, which are
they're
so good.
so pretty.
They're an 8mm, and
Yep.
then we have these big potato pearls. And Emily has them in this finished piece, so we're going to give you a little treat, 8 and 8,
8 and 8,
which is a double happiness.
Yeah,
kind
88.
of good luck.
88 is kind of a nice number in the Chinese tradition.
Yes.
That 88 is double happiness.
Yes, so 2 8s.
Good fortune, prosperity.
Yes.
All those things for the new year.
So it'll bring you all of that. So Karen, if you already ordered, just shoot an email over to us. We'll with your words in it, and we'll add your gift in there. Okay. So I'm going to hand that over to you.
Sparkle and shine.
Of
This
course,
goes in the notes.
I have this upside down. If you have, don't forget, on our homepage we have a tiered sale, but our bead 15 doesn't have any minimum to it.
Right.
So if you just throw in bead 15, we knock 15% off of your order. So also, you guys, for the holidays this weekend, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, Run Don't Walk, go right over to beadshop.com, put your email in. We don't give it away. We don't sell it. We don't do anything like that. Share it. You'll only hear stuff from us. And I've got some great stuff coming for you this weekend.
I saw some new things.
It's
kind
going
of
to be,
excited.
it's a little special. So just like you and me.
Oh.
That's true. So you guys, thank you. The 15%, Carrie, you put in bead 15, and Sparkle and Shine, you put it in the
Shipping
order
notes.
in the shipping notes for your free gift.
You can get both.
Right, you can
Yeah,
get both.
yeah, yeah.
It's not an either or, right? It's
You
not
should.
an either or. And Janice just put the newsletter link in. All right. Well, you guys, happiest of holidays to all of you.
Merry Christmas.
You know, Merry Christmas, Happy
Happy
Hanukkah, Happy Solstice.
Bright solstice. What do you say for happy?
all
do you
of
say
those.
happy solstice?
I don't know. You say welcome the light, return of the light, right? Because
right.
days are
Okay.
finally going to get longer, which is awesome. But we really, really appreciate you this holiday season.
Truly.
And we appreciate your emails. Janice has passed on some really wonderful emails that you guys have sent. So we really, really appreciate you guys out there. So merriest of Christmases to you. Happy holidays to you. And I'll see you on Friday for Free Tip Friday. And I guess that's it.
Merry Christmas.
We'll see you guys soon.
See you soon. See you next week.
Beadshop.com. See you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye. And we're out.